We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heat one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyree Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Thompson fires the ball over the middle. It's Dory! It's Dory! Got a touchdown! Dory's got a touchdown! Oh, man! Dory's got a touchdown! Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium and Gale. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatorre.
Same corner, same time. How's it going, fellas?
Good.
I'm in the Great White North, boys. Drinking
Canadian
some Tim Hortons
Dan.
coffee. Canadian Dan.
Hey,
OVO.
Hey, shout out
Dan.
to the United States and the U.S.
OVO
dollar
Dan.
and the and the currency power. You get like a 25% discount if you're using U.S. American doll hairs up here. So shout out to us.
Spent all of your livestock just on that coffee.
Yeah. So how was what'd you guys think of the Super Bowl?
I thought it was like a
I went to bed
snoozer
after
to
halftime.
begin
I ain't gonna
with.
lie. Yeah,
It was like tough to watch at the beginning, and then CBS got every bit that they paid for, and then some. Only the second Super Bowl game to go into overtime. Shout out to Tommy Townsend. Found a picture of him hugging some random fan who most people probably don't know. Some girl who was at the game.
Shout out, you know what? Taylor Swift, happy for her, whatever. I think it's interesting. Her like best friend is Blake Lively, and you'd have no idea that Blake Lively is like an unbelievably huge actress by the way that they show her box. It's just, hey, this is just Taylor Swift over here.
It was like Taylor Swift and like the Make-A-Wish girl. It was like, hey, that's an A-list movie celebrity.
That's Ryan Reynolds' wife.
That's yeah, Mr. Ryan Lively.
But shout out to Tommy Townsend. Unbelievable show of punting performance, Nick. But also grabbed an incredibly bad snap. Allowed Harrison Butker to get a field goal off. Juwan Taylor, LaMichael Pirine, Kadarius Toney was a healthy scratch, as you can imagine, and then Trey Dean on the practice squad. So all will end up with Super Bowl rings, just like the NFL scripted it this year.
Yeah, man. After Usher, I passed out. Then didn't catch the second half. Woke up to some good memes and a little highlight of what happened in the second half, but definitely missed it. And that was the best part of the game for sure. First half was a snoozer for me, man. I had to go. Whiskey beat me up, bro.
What'd you think of Usher?
That couldn't have been a more millennial halftime show. We're just sitting there. One of the guys at the party I was at was like, how many hits does Usher really have? I'm like, Usher could play the entire length of the Super Bowl, and it would just be a banger after another banger after another banger. Luda pops up. Great show.
Lil Jon, Jermaine Dupri.
Seen somebody on Facebook say, it's nice of Usher to let these people play football at his concert.
Just went to watch Taylor Swift's boyfriend play football at the Usher concert.
Shout out to Taylor Swift going to the Usher concert. No, absolutely. But we got a big show today. A lot of content. Obviously, never a dull week, never a normal week in Florida Gator football land. We have Spencer Hall. Every day should be Saturday, joining us here in just one moment. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Lucy, who is upping the nicotine pouch game with their new breaker pouches, which have a little flavor breaker right there in the middle of that nicotine pouch. So if you are looking for something a little bit different, if you're looking to maybe get something that's a little bit higher in nicotine content than what you can traditionally get at the convenience store, go take a look at Lucy. 4 milligrams, 8 milligrams, 100% pure nicotine and 100% tobacco free. 6 delicious flavors: apple ice, espresso, mint, mango. bunch of flavors that you can enjoy. So go visit lucy.co/stadium. You'll get 20% off of your order and free shipping. Again, that's lucy.co/stadium. Get you 20% off your first order and always free shipping with a 30-day refund policy. Here's a fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product does contain nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Word.
All right, let's get our friend Spencer Hall, friend of the program, back on to Stadium and Gale. Spencer, it is a pleasure to welcome you this morning.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Hey, that beard is badass, Spencer.
Speaking of
Appreciate
an addictive chemical, that beard shows up. And it's like, okay.
I'm very disappointed to learn nicotine's an addictive chemical.
I think it's new science.
Yeah. See, this is very un-Alachua County to me. I was told that it was good for me and my children.
Just an appetite suppressant.
It's nicotine, and then you start everything else.
ED, performance enhancement drug, for sure.
That focuses the mind.
Yeah. Well, Spencer, obviously, the Florida Gators, since we last had you on the show, which I think was about 3 years ago, I have done a whole lot of nothing during that time. They fired a head coach. They brought on a new head coach, have gone under 500 for the last 2 seasons. What optimism can you bring to Gator Nation this fine morning?
None.
Okay.
Spencer, it's been great having you here. We'll move on to our next segment.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. No, we're at that stage where you just kind of look at Billy and go, what do you do? What do you do here? What is that thing that we hang your hat on? I think we can do that with most coaches and say that you do this. Florida's first opponent this year is going to be Miami. And I know what Mario Cristobal does. He recruits. And even Mario knows he shouldn't have anything to do with the rest of the show. And that's fine, because all he wants to do is recruit and text teenagers. That's fine. That's all he does all day long. I can't say that about Billy, because he doesn't recruit like Mario does, and he doesn't do as good a job. And I can't say that he's a great play caller, because he's not. There's no evidence to back that up. It'd be real cool if I could, because it's my team, and I would like to say that, but I can't. And for some reason, he's insistent on calling plays when he's not good at it. I'm not saying he's bad at it. He's mid. He's firmly mid to bad, depending on who's under center. Okay, is this a great organizational mind? I think we've seen from both the snafus at the NIL level to the constant overturn in coaches to the swollen roster of people who work for the program but have no seriously defined jobs, that he's not a great organizational mind either. I think the answer has always been to hire more people. He saw what Nick Saban did in Alabama and said, I just need to put a lot of shirts in the building. Well, there's a lot of shirts in the building and the results suck. So that's where we're at. And on top of all that, on top of going into the season with a lot of questions up and down the roster about who's going to play where and whether the level of talent really has improved. I mean, I know it's improved. Let's give the man credit for that. It's improved. Admittedly, that's coming off of a bottom-out recruiting situation under Mullen, but it's improved. But going into this year, there is the schedule. So on top of all of that, the schedule, not only, usually when we do this, what's the phrase? The schedule does us no favors. That's not accurate. Okay? This is a punishing schedule. It's punitive. It's so bad that, like, when it came out, Greg McElroy, who is not a person long on empathy towards any football program, looked at it and goes, I think this is unfair. That's how I know it's bad. Okay, when neutral to prejudiced observers look at it and go, nah, that's, what did y'all do? Who did you anger? What curse did you invoke? So expectations for this year, set them as low as possible. You might be in a lame duck year. Billy might get fired. It could happen. I could see it happen. On top of all that, I didn't mention this, just in case we had this long bad news. Let's just go ahead and extend it further. Your AD should have been fired already. And he will most likely be fired in the next year. So not only do you have to replace the coach, you have to replace the entire sort of administrative superstructure above that coach. I got no good news for you. None.
How much did those Tebow years cost? Because I assume this is still just paying off the bill. I said like 2020 LSU was the cause of going to a very nice restaurant with Joe Burrow in 2019. ordering all the appetizers, fixins, and wine bottles that the restaurant had, and then walking out on the bill. And any LSU fan was like, listen, we'll pay that. No problem, as long as it takes. But Tim Tebow hasn't been on campus in nearly a decade, more than a decade, 15 years.
Yeah.
How long until that debt is paid off? What did Urban promise the devil for those 4 years? And when will Florida be out of that debt?
Well, first of all, the idea of anyone in Florida ever being out of debt, it's not happening. Just the entire state.
Yeah.
State's built on debt and fraud. So you're either committing one or you're in the other or both. I would also say this, that the idea that there is a debt to be paid implies that somebody's keeping score in college football, which isn't true. Everything could be stolen. Everything could be taken at any minute. And anyone who's acting like there's a fairness or a score system in place is wrong. Florida has no debt from any of this. Florida's just made bad decisions. You could point back and go, you messed up. You messed up over and over and over again. You messed up when it came to hiring. You messed up when it came to administration. You messed up when it came to the NIL era and how to build an NIL program initially. That's improved, but there were huge, embarrassing public missteps when it came to NIL. And you've that goes beyond the football program. That goes to overall athletic administration as well. But within the football program, if you hire this series of coaches in this order, looking backwards, every single hire has been looking backwards or looking elsewhere. Whereas everyone else who's had success, for the most part, all right, has either hired somebody with a tie to the program who really wanted it to work and was invested, or had their own vision for it. Georgia, at least they had the tie to Kirby. It was very much let's do what Nick does. All right. So they did that, but they got the guy who is an alum of the school. Okay. Particularly motivated to make it work. No backup plan. Absolutely no backup plan for Kirby. All right. There was not like a professional coach loitering around for the best offer. That's the dream job. He got it and he's killed it so far. Florida has no original ideas and has had none. None. What? Hired not one, but two Saban assistants. Okay.
Oh, three.
Three.
Yeah, three. Yeah, we've hired three. They tried that trick 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times.
They're not even trying at this point.
Yeah, you've tried it 3 times and it didn't take. So the 4th coming up, sure. Let's see. If Scott Strickland's trying to make the hire, count on it. They're just going to load up, redo it. And the only time that they came up with a guy who wasn't in that tree was somebody who had already been here. Whereas we could have taken any number of talented young guys. We could have looked to talented FCS coaches, which I know that sounds insane. It's what Washington did. Worked out real well for him. And now that dude is the coach at Alabama. Okay. Go find good talent elsewhere. Go find people who have novel ideas. Go find people who do things a little bit differently. Not that there's a whole lot of different, because football coaches tend to be sort of boring and lean on the same things. But man, open a window, bring some fresh air.
My security blanket of blaming Tebow has just been snatched by a beard man in the park.
I will provide no comfort today. No. I have nothing. Yeah. I have blood, sweat, and tears. That's all I have to promise here.
The thing is, all of this is bigger than just Billy Napier.
Correct.
It's just from a lot of different standpoints. We're late to the punch on a lot of things. We were late to the punch with just before NIL was NIL. Let's just keep it all the way 100. Like, there were certain programs taking care of players behind the scenes. I think we were late on that punch. We were late on the facilities. We were late on the type of staff that we're getting now. Right? That what Billy's trying to set up, that would have been fired like 2-3 years ago if he was just getting the job. But now college football is a different place, and the infrastructure he's trying to set up is already outdated. While I worked at Louisiana, it's not going to work here because you need people to be able to manage rosters on the general manager standpoint, not just, recruiting is not the same. So, I don't know what that general manager job is, but it seems to be the teams that are thriving in transfer portal are getting guys that they know are coming before they even hit the portal. So there's some tampering going on in roster management. So we've been late to the punch, and I don't know if it's because of a lack of resources. I just think it's a lack of care. Like, how much do we care about football? I've been saying this for a while now, but I think if University of Florida was serious, we have the resources, the money, and everything else to make it go. I just don't know if that's what may have cost us the Tebow years. We're saying the Tebow year, maybe the Aaron Hernandez years. There, some of that energy that was brought to the program, I don't know if people really want to be good at football anymore.
I don't know if you have to go full Aaron Hernandez to be good at football.
No, but I mean, I think
just in that era, it's like there's a lot of bad press from that time. Go ahead.
But I think it goes back to like all the way back to Charlie Pell, right? And Florida getting in trouble. To Florida's kind of always played this black and white, not in the gray area. Obviously, Steve Spurrier, Spencer mentioned him. Obviously, connection back to University of Florida, gets Florida their first national championship, really puts them on the map. The issues with Ron Zook kind of come up, and and a lot of people could look back and say, man, we would love consistent 8 and 9 win seasons, but he was also having guys fighting fraternity members at their frat house, right? So then you have Urban Meyer.
To be fair, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome, right? I'd love to see that passion, right?
Yeah,
shout out to Frank Delatorre, my dad. That was his fraternity. He, of course, a little bit older.
Of course, it was.
No, I think it was.
It was Pi Kappa.
Pi Kappa Alpha. Pi Kappa Alpha,
or Pi Kappa Phi.
Pi Kappa Phi, not Pike. Dad wasn't there.
Frank's a Pike.
Yeah, well, not a Pike. He's Pike would be Pi Kappa Alpha. He's a Pi Kappa.
He's Pi Kappa Phi. He's Pi Kappa Phi.
I've told Ron Zook that in person that it was awesome. So
that was awesome.
I will keep it a buck with him. Yeah.
So then you had Urban Meyer. You sold out everything for that. Then you had Will Muschamp, who couldn't figure out the offensive side of the ball. Then you had quite possibly the weirdest head coach in college football history in Jim McElwain. Then you kind of figure something out a little bit with Dan Mullen. Then COVID happens and he goes into some downward spiral. And then obviously nothing about Billy Napier so far has seemed to connect, right? Like recruiting is getting better, but it's still not where you want it to be. You finish 10th in the country and you're still 7th in the SEC, right? So you talk a little bit about, Nick was talking about resources and everything else. I mean, if you look at the staff that Florida has, and a lot of you guys would be very surprised to see how much money a lot of those staff members are getting. I don't think it's a resource thing. I think it's, do you have the right people in the right positions to be able to continue to move your team forward? And right now it's been an abject and loud no.
I don't know that Florida's ever committed more resources to football. Like the effort to win games from the administration side in terms of just throwing cash at the problem. I don't think it's ever been higher. But it's I think Florida also was behind the times in the neighborhood. They had the worst house on the neighborhood for a while, and then they called in the home improvement. But by the time you got, Ty Dillingham or whatever his name was from Extreme Home Makeover to come to Gainesville, it's hey, we're paying players legally now. So you can use all that money on new buildings, but everyone else has that, and now they're going to be paying players. And you're like, wait, what? Pay players? We need weights. We need infrastructure.
We're still practicing under the Ben Hill Griffin stands.
Florida reminds me a lot of, if you read old interviews with Eminem. I think he's different now, but there was a period where after he was crazily successful, he kind of just stayed in his house for a while and didn't learn anything. You got so rich you didn't have to learn. You got so successful you didn't have to try. So there's this interview and somebody's showing him that you can look at pornography on the internet. And he's like, "Wow, I didn't know that. It's 2012." And so he's like, "You can get this on the internet." And he's like, "What? That's crazy.
And
I can get rid of all these tapes." Yeah.
These magazines, these VHSs.
Yeah. These cassettes. Yeah. That was Florida, for a long time. And again, I agree. I don't think resources are an issue. Right. I think it's management at this point. And if you want to see proof of concept, I don't know, maybe we'll see it in year 3. Honestly, if you see proof of the Billy Napier concept against this schedule, keep him.
Yeah.
Keep it. If you see, 9-3 come out of this, oh, buddy, extend it.
Could be a playoff team at 9-3 with this schedule.
That's right. If that's the case, then go ahead. But unless you are prepared to make a Jim Harbaugh-sized bet on this man, which is, I'm going to win a title in year 9. That's what, again, I don't think people really understand how insane what Michigan did was. They were like, we're going to stay with this man for 9 years until he wins us a national title. We'll stay with them for 6 or 7 before he gets us an outright Big Ten title. That's nuts. That's
Jim
insane.
Harbaugh evolved from Dockers to Lululemon khakis in the time he was given.
He had long enough to learn how to wear a new kind of clothing, which this is a podcast of all men here.
Yeah.
You know, that's a huge step.
Dan Mullen's still wearing pleats to this day. You know?
That man rides or you know what? I think he's on flat fronts now. TV talked him into flat fronts.
I can see that. I can see that. You can't wear
I'd be
them in the
surprised
bottom
if he
row.
had like
No
a bathing
pleats
suit
in St.
under
Lucia.
his, sitting at the desk in like a bathing suit, just ready to, pop up in a Celsius and hit the lake.
Spencer, what if you're Florida, what's kind of the record, or what do you want to see an improvement out of them to be potentially buying into the Billy Napier experiment here at the University of Florida?
God, you have to be better on defense.
Yeah.
I just you have to have some sort of notion of what you're doing on defense. I understand we have a lot of young staffers who are very excited and very, very, very eager to do their job. It would be cool if they did it. And it would be cool if you saw the lines get better. And that goes defense and offense. Offense and defensive line, if that is what you want to do, and that is what Billy Napier wants to do, then you have to at least start to see that develop in year 3. I don't care. Honestly, like I go back and watch a tape. I don't care if it's in a loss. I really don't. Like, as long as like skill players, they'll come. That's fine. We can develop that. They have to look better at the line of scrimmage because they got bullied at times last year. And I know that's also an S&C thing. I know that's a strength and conditioning thing. I know that turnover at the strength crew, that happened for a reason, but that has to happen along the lines of scrimmage. That's it. And then in the year has to finish on an upward trajectory. It has to. There's just
I don't see it happening.
I don't know. No, I have a definition of that upward trajectory. Okay?
Yeah, because
if
we
went
start 6-0 and finish 6-6,
that's, you know what? Like, I don't think that's fine, but like, it depends on how those last 6 games land. I know it's going to be hard and a struggle, but I will also say this: we're assuming everybody in those last 6 games has got their business together. Right. That's really stupid to do in college football.
Sure.
We should not do that, right? Like, oh yeah, all 6 of those teams are going to be good. What about any of this makes you think everybody's uniformly competent? Right? Look at that. So somebody's going to blow up on the launch pad. Somebody's going to injure their quarterback. Somebody's going to turn out in those first 6 games to be way better than you think they are. And somebody in those last 6 is absolutely going to tank, right? If that weren't true, Jimbo Fisher would still be at Texas A&M, right? So I wouldn't project that hard. It's a brutal schedule. It might be brutal in ways that are different than you anticipate.
My thing is just we've seen Billy coach for a couple of years now, and I don't see that vastly improving from last year to this year, and I don't see the Jimmies and Joes. I didn't see an influx of talent in the transfer portal. There's another window, but I don't think we've received enough talent to overcome our coaching woes on the field. So I'm expecting it to, unless something different happens between now and fall, I'm not expecting a whole lot as far as product on the field.
I think this. Well, I go back when you talk about offense and defensive line. Everyone points to, well, the first year the offensive line was so good, and I say, well, you had an actual created player at quarterback who was very hard to sack, and an All-American, like a unanimous All-American right guard. Maybe the line wasn't good. Maybe you had one really good player and a quarterback who was just really hard to sack, and that helped the running game because now you have to play 11 on 11. So I don't know that the offensive line even was good that first year, or if it was just 2 players, one quarterback and one very excellent lineman that made everyone else look good. And then you saw what they really were last year when you didn't have that kind of mobile quarterback. And then the defensive line, I thought the world of Sean Spencer. Obviously, Florida did. They paid a very big buyout for a position coach from Duke just to even get him here, and then he's the first head on the chopping block. Not to say that the defensive line played so well that he should have stayed, but there is a bunch of turnover. I don't know that you'll get much change on offense, but I think when Billy Napier looked, if you believe him when he says we do a self-evaluation, a rigorous self-evaluation after every year, his moves tell you offense wasn't the problem. Special teams wasn't the problem. It was defense. He had never fired an assistant coach in 6 years of being a head coach, and he fired 2 defensive coaches after this last season. So I wouldn't expect huge sweeping changes on offense, but I do think you get Graham Mertz back. There's a long history of transfer quarterbacks having a big jump in year 2 of the system after transferring. And I look at the roster and I think, hey, this might be the best collection of talent that Billy Napier has had. But also, the schedule makers with their axe to grind, as you already pointed out, Spencer. So it might be the best roster you have, but I don't know that it
might
will
not
show in the win-loss
might
record.
not matter. Might not
Yeah.
matter at all.
Yeah, I don't even know what the best team in college football, maybe not Georgia, but you take that next 4 through 12. I don't know if any of them you could theoretically say would go better than 9-3, right? Maybe 10-2, but just based on the amount of potential that's on that schedule, right? And Spencer makes a good point. You just don't know, is FSU going to be a top 15 team? They're going to be ranked in the top 15, but we don't know. They lost a lot, right? Ole Miss still has to put things together. There's a lot of programs that have to put things together, but I just don't know, even if you had one of the best rosters in college football, if you could expect to go 9-3 or better. And I think that Florida has huge holes on the offensive line. I don't think that they got better. I think that you have a lot of good young stars, like 4- and 5-star players that still haven't proven that ability, right? Can they make that next jump up? But now Florida's going to be looking for a new strength and conditioning coach because they just had one for 5 weeks and he's like, I'm going to Boston College. So you kind of set things back a little bit more. And now you institute a new strength and conditioning coach. Now you're starting to lose some time here. And what should be your strength and conditioning coach is your most important coach for 60% of the year, right? So Florida has got to figure it out and figure it out quickly because there's a very, very tight leash on Billy Napier. And I don't know. My wind in my sails has been lost.
No, I mean, like, there's a chase and we can cut to it. This is a lame duck year. Like, that's it. Like, if you want, like, brass tacks, this is a lame duck year and you need to start thinking about who's next. And you need to go ahead and start writing off the Billy era as we recruited really well, or at least better than the previous guy. I've got the program in a slightly better spot. Certainly got a lot more nameplates in the offices and began to prime the pump for what looks like a decent NIL and administrative foundation. And thank you, on to the next guy. That's it. This is another blown 3 or 4 years. And if you give him another 4, I don't think he's going to be a different coach because, again, not a great enough recruiter to keep, not a great enough play caller to keep, not a good enough manager to keep. Really nice dude, not up to the job.
You think Strickland goes first?
Yeah, I hope so.
He
should already be gone. Frankly, and that has nothing to do with football. That has to do with other things that have happened under his watch. So he's got to be gone.
So if he's not going, say by like October rolls around and Strickland's still here, but we're losing, like, you think both at the same time? Like, I don't think they let him make the next hire.
They can't. So, and if he makes a good hire, it would be by accident, right? and if he makes a bad hire, it would be intentionally. That's a good sign that you can't keep the dude. So, and he should be gone anyway for a lot of other reasons. So, once he's gone,
anticipate him leaving before the fall?
I would love that. That'd be great. But, like, again, if you're trying to parse the decision-making at the University of Florida right now, given who's in charge and given everything that's happening within the state that has nothing to do with football, good luck. I have absolutely no idea. There's shoulds and there's wills. And the shoulds are pretty clear. The wills are vague.
Spencer, who do you got in the national championship this year?
Oh, man. It is one day after the Super Bowl.
I know.
Listen, you should have this figured out by February 12th.
Yeah.
You're a degenerate.
What was 100?
I mean, I love it.
Like 180 days, 189 days until we kick off in Ireland, right? Ready for the fighting, Seminoles to battle the fighting Herb Streets, right? They're ready to square up in the middle of Dublin.
It would be very, very funny to me if you had an Ohio State-Texas matchup in the final, and then as a result of that Ohio State-Texas matchup, Ohio State lost again. That would be extremely funny to me because that's the team that can't get over in Texas and is perpetually overrated, getting over on the team that wants to be over more than any team in the nation, the team that has thrown the most money at the problem, the team that has gone and taken a head coach to be their OC
Mm-hmm.
to
Crazy.
fix their problems, and has got the transfer quarterback, went and got him, has the biggest fundraising day of their lives after the Michigan game because they don't want that to happen again. They've lost Harbaugh. The lane is clear. They can go. I will take Ohio State and Texas, and then I'll have Texas beat them because that's a funnier and crueler ending.
So then you'd have new Florida football head coach Ryan Day.
That's right. Bring them on down. We can finally get Chip on the cheap.
You could do
There you go.
worse.
Get Chip on the cheap.
Get Chip on the cheap. There you go.
Yeah,
So we can get another mediocre
Ryan Day
recruiter.
coached at Florida, right? Years ago, eons ago. He could bring Mark Pantoni down with him.
Sure.
Bring
It's all
Mark
come together.
Pantoni back.
I've been
I have
hearing
nothing-
Mark Pantoni for like a decade now, man. That dream is dead.
Let's do this. I'm gonna be rude as a guest and dictate the pace here for one question here. Who are you getting? Because like I would love Billy to work out. I just don't see a lot of evidence for that. Right?
am I
If anyone's
getting?
watching this and they're like, God, he's such a hater. I'm like, I understand. I love this dude. It's just not working, and there's no evidence to point that it is going to work. Okay. The rest, for the faith-based fan, please go
Buddy.
do that. There's no football god to me. Okay. You
Better
only
get-
have what's on the field. All right.
Better get unfollowed, Spencer. That's all.
Yes. You go unfollow me, support Stadium and Gale. But
who are you hiring if Florida is hiring next fall?
oh God.
Is it
So-
true that Jed Fish interviewed at UCLA like
He said
days
no.
ago?
No,
Oh, he said no. I know there was
no,
a
he
rumor
said-
going around.
He said categorically no.
Okay.
Like,
I think
yeah.
he would interview at Florida. Come
He
back
would.
Of
home.
course he would. Yeah, I mean, but Florida then would owe Billy Napier what, 27 million, give or take?
Oh,
Then you'd
what
have to
happens
buy out of
with the NCAA
Washington?
investigation.
We're committed to throwing money at the problem, Dan. How committed are we?
Throw it at the players.
Yeah. No, let's throw money at the players, not at Billy. Firing for cause for the NCAA investigation. That's the
Ooh.
Machiavellian thing to do, is to say, hey, let's talk about reducing your buyout before it gets ugly. Because sentiment goes out the door when you're talking about that many zeros. If I had to hire anybody, like straight out the gun, it's real hard to dislike what Jed Fish did at Arizona.
Mhm.
It's and he's got connections. So like that would be the first name that came to mind. And if I heard me saying this 3 years ago, I would have slapped me. But
Mhm.
man, he like fun football, extremely aggressive. I think he's still got plenty of upside and was a good recruiter for what they do at Arizona. Well, it'd be interesting to see what he does at Washington, but like that'd be go. Also, fresh air, like somebody who's not currently in the constellation.
But
Well,
I mean,
one of the
between
things-
us, we all know it's going to come from like whoever the head coach is at, Texas Tech or
UTSA
Boise
had a
State.
great
Yeah.
year. Let's see who's
Yeah.
their coach. One thing I mentioned it, Florida Georgia last year, and I don't think it's a prerequisite to winning that game. But when you look at Georgia's rosters, there's a bunch of dudes who played at Georgia and had a hard time beating Florida, and that game is like deeply personal to them. And I think it kind of goes to what you were saying earlier. Like Florida hasn't hired a Florida man. Not in that realm, not in those headlines, but a guy who went to the University of Florida. Like, listen, I'm sure Billy Napier and his staff want to beat Georgia. Will Muschamp would crawl over shards of glass to beat Florida as the coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, and the same with Kirby. And maybe you do need a guy who comes in and knows what Florida is and what the glory days were. And it is deeply personal to them, because unless it is at the college level, then you're coaching for paychecks, and the paychecks are nice and the buyouts are even nicer.
But I don't even know if Florida has those pedigree people. I mean, Jed Fish is obviously
Jed Fish
one,
would be
but
one of them,
he's going
yeah.
to be in the Big Ten, making a bunch of money. Do you go and chase that dream? Right. I know Jed Fish went to UF. I don't know how much like his affinity is towards the University of Florida, right? Like we talk about a lot of former players. They're like, why doesn't Phil Trotwine come back? It's like, because he's from the Northeast. Why, just because he went to school here doesn't mean there's the same affinity. There seems to be that connection that Georgia has, and a few other schools have it too. I don't know if Florida has the pedigree of coaches of who's that next guy now, but
just give me somebody.
Dion.
Dion.
You see him
Lane Kiffin, Dion.
prime, baby. Give me prime.
I
think the turnover, not all the way prime. Not I'm 50-50 on prime as a coach, right? Some things I like, some things I hate. But I think as far as being able to keep players from entering the portal and bouncing and having a mass exodus, I think he's the type of coach to keep a roster intact.
He would be good. There's another one that's interesting, and I don't know if he would do it, but he's been very impressive so far. And that's Dan Lanning. And
I mean,
that's
the guy. That's the guy.
That's a contested
We're not
poll,
going
though.
to get no damn Lanning.
Like,
man.
Now he does go against my rule of
Yeah.
like new blood, because he's a Saban guy, but he's aggressive, and I like that.
I mean, obviously it was Oregon putting it out on purpose, but like when they were playing Colorado and Colorado was being portrayed as the actual Monstars come out of the silver screen and put onto a football field, the stuff he was telling his team in the locker room that, leaks out. I'm watching that and I'm like, that's the dude. That's the guy.
Yeah. I would have really liked that. He's petty. Petty is good. I like petty and vengeful. I think that just makes a program better. I think that makes college football better. So I guess those would be my two sort of initial leans. But like by the time the season rolls out and you see who's doing well and who's sort of coming up, I just don't want to do the same thing. Let's just
But here's a question. With the way that things are going, the Big Ten, it's not a Power 5, it's a Power 2. If you're a head coach of a Power 2 team, why are you leaving to go to another Power 2 team? You're in Oregon. You've got that kind of neck of the woods, complete, like maybe even all of California, outside of Los Angeles. Recruiting wise, you've got all of that cut out for you. You're going to be getting Big Ten money. The people over there, you have 4, 7, and 5 years in a row. They're like, it's been a little tough. We'll get them next year. You come to Florida and you don't have 4, 7, and 5 years in a row at Florida. Like, you've got it really good at Oregon. Why? What would Dan Lanning need to leave Oregon? Because he just told Alabama no. Even though I do say you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. You want to be the guy that followed the guy who followed the guy. So I wouldn't have wanted to follow Nick Saban either. I
think he'd be fine following up Billy Napier. I think that's a slightly different constellation than following up Nick Saban. Just comparing, just putting the rosters and the schedules together. And yeah, I'm going to say, I feel comfortable saying that. The actual answer is when you go, well, why would he leave? And I go, I think Washington is a harder job than people think. No, I'm sorry. Oregon. I'm on like 3 hours sleep, y'all. But yeah, I think Oregon is a harder job than people think. And I think the expectations are, a little tougher than you think. Not that you'd be going to a job with any lower expectations. With Oregon, you do. That's when I say it's a contested poll, what I mean is you're going to have to fish him out of there. And he would probably have to have some sort of administrative motivation to leave. It's a low margin poll, right? Jed Fish, probably be a little bit easier. Bit easier. I think Washington is a tougher job. You've seen the floor at Oregon is like 7 wins, right? 7-6 wins. They're that good. They're that deep. They're consistently that good. The floor at Washington is 0. And the floor at Washington is 1. We've seen that pretty recently in their history.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see who those next names are, because they always pop up at, out of nowhere. Or it's going to be that one coach that gets hot quickly, right? Billy Napier was kind of a name that people talked about for a while, but took him a little bit. Then he had that one final year at Lafayette where it was time to make that jump. So I've never seen Florida pull a coach from a big program. So until they do that, yes, Urban Meyer came from Utah. Utah is really good in 2004, but Utah is not what Utah is now. Right. So I've never seen Florida go big game hunting in any sport for the most part. football,
Kyle-
basketball,
Kyle
baseball.
Whittingham has been there since Urban left.
Man,
I've covered 4 coaches. I didn't even cover Urban. I'm on my 4th coach. Kyle Whittingham has been at Utah since Urban left.
dude, everyone's been at Utah. Go look at their staff.
Yeah.
Go to the site. Go look at their staff. Go look at how long all of them have been there. Andy Ludwig is the newcomer, and I think he's been there 6 years.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. Like everybody, their strength coach, that was his first job, like his first head strength coach job, all the way back in like 2006, 2005. Like that's
good quality of life out there.
No one leaves. Absolutely, no one leaves. You know, their defensive
the streets
coordinator
are so wide you can't even cross them. Just unbelievable streets out there.
Why would you, man? You know what? You can go to Park City like after work.
Yeah, out there.
Yeah, the East Coast is trash. Like this is what you have to learn.
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver right now. Heading up to Whistler in a few hours. So let's see. Any final questions, boys? Spencer, we appreciate you spending 40 minutes of time with us this morning. Any final questions?
Yeah, just the opening game. I think it's an interesting 3 years for Florida. You just keep getting these really interesting season openers. I wrote a story that came out this morning. It was picking 5 games, and I just kind of got stuck on Miami. Those 2 coaches are tied because they were both hired the same year. How does the loser of that game sell hope to their fan base? Because I feel like they're both kind of in that same boat where fans are like, I'm looking for a reason to get behind you. Please give me a reason to fully buy in. And then you lose to Kentucky and you lose to Vanderbilt. And you're like, well, I can't. How does the loser of Florida Miami sell hope outside of Florida, winning the rest of their games that year?
You hope everyone forgets the game happened. That usually happens in game 1. It's much easier to forget game 1 than it is to forget game 8 or game 10. So that's really the only advantage because it's pretty dire for either team on either side. Someone's leaving this game in a world of hurt. And especially if Miami loses it in the manner that Mario Cristobal has lost games, if they come in and Mario Cristobal runs out of timeouts with 3 minutes left and needing to get down the field and badly botches that, then you're having the same nightmare over and over again. That would be bad. Florida, I don't know. We got a whole lot of different ways we can lose it. Maybe we don't score. Maybe we turn it over. Maybe we allow a long TD. Maybe we miss a couple of field goals. We have a variety of ways to be disappointed. I don't know if that's better or not, but that's how it works.
It does seem like the paralysis by analysis bowl. I would go early betting line, take the under. There might be a total of 56 plays run with how quickly these coaches make decisions on the sideline.
Yeah, that's okay. Each coach has 30 different analysts up in the booth to help them take the entire play clock to call off tackle. Yeah.
It's got to be the hot seat bowl, right? Like whoever loses is now the number 1 coach on the hot seat, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if Mario feels it at this point. He's just kind of used to it.
Yeah. It's kind of Mario's MO, right? I mean,
the more I talk about him, the more I admire Mario. And then he's like, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know. I'm not going to change a lot. Just going to keep recruiting and hiring guys. Let's see how it works.
Spencer, before we head out, I got a super chat here from JP. We kind of talked a little bit about this, but what's a floor for Billy? Like, things might work. I know you said it might not be wins and losses, it might be the manner of wins and losses, but for the sake of this question,
I would say 8-4. And that is a huge ask against this. But that is based on the previous 2 years. All right. Because I don't know. You could end up at 7-5, and that could feel somewhat accidental. 8-4 would be, we did that on purpose. That's the main thing I want. Let's see. I want to see that you did something on a football field on purpose and with design and executed it. That's it. Have a plan.
First
Make
drive.
it clear.
Got you.
You don't know that they didn't purposely design a play with 10 guys on special teams for a field goal block.
Oh, yeah. How about that? Get the basic things right. Like do the thing you talk about. Execute. Go ahead and execute. Do that.
They so for me, and you've said it's not the numbers, but
I miss being good, guys.
7-5 leaves you under 500 for your first 3 years. You would
7-5.
You would need a bowl win to get to 8-5 and just to be 500 after 3 years.
Yeah. So just proof of concept, or it's time to cut bait.
Yes, sir.
I miss Stadium and Gale back in the day when we were talking about playing in the Orange Bowl and winning the Orange Bowl, and those are the days, Silk.
Yeah, I miss those days, man.
It feels like Adam Lane's game-worn Birmingham Bowl pants of late.
It does. It does. Shout out to Mark Thompson. He's currently grifting his way into multiple people's inboxes with a game-worn stuff. But Spencer, we really appreciate your time this morning. Let everybody know. I'm sure everybody knows who you are and follows you, but let everybody know where they can follow you.
You can follow me on Twitter. I ain't calling it at EDSBS. You can subscribe to the Channel 6 newsletter, which is in my bio on X, Twitter. But Channel 6 is the newsletter. You can Google it. It's real good. There's a free version and there's a paid version. I think you should pay for it because it's real good, but that's just me. You can also listen to the Shutdown Fullcast, and where with my co-hosts Holly Anderson, Jason Kirk, and Ryan Naney, we sometimes talk about college football. And then you can follow along with me on Big Dumb Football on ESPN's college football YouTube channel, where we do fun videos about football.
I love it. And Spencer, we appreciate you coming on this morning. We will talk with you soon. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll chat soon, my friend.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Spencer.
All right, gentlemen. Let's get a quick ad read. Got a lot to talk about in the world of Gator sports. If you are looking for some vintage University of Florida wear, softest cotton t-shirts that I know that I own, go visit homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout. It'll get you 15% off of your order. A number of schools beyond the University of Florida. I think they're at about 100 different schools right now, plus the Indianapolis Colts if you are a Colts fan. So go visit homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout for 15% off of your order. I would be remiss if I did not tell you that Home Field Apparel is also rolling out a new NIL initiative on Monday, which will create a revenue stream for donor-driven collectives. They signed a year-long partnership with Florida Victorious, as well as Georgia, Purdue, Indiana, and Kansas State, that will allow for 6 enhanced promotional day for each collective to get a 20% revenue share while offering 20% off to customers as well. So Home Field Apparel looking out for you, looking out for the Florida Gators collective as well. Go visit homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout. All right, guys. I don't know where we start. I guess we can start at the National Signing Day press conference. The Gators announced the addition of quarterback Clay Millen, offensive lineman. He's from Colorado State. Offensive lineman Devin Manuel from Arkansas, Pup Howard from South Carolina, Asa Turner from Washington, DJ Douglas from Tulane, and George Gums from Northern Illinois. The Gators also talked about the addition of the head coach, or the executive head coach of defense, who's also apparently his responsibility is to coach the coaches. We'll talk a little bit about that. Ron Roberts, Gerald Chapman on the defensive line, and Will Harris as the defensive backs coach. The Gators also announced a new chief of staff in Mark Robinson, director of football nutrition and assistant strength coach Jake Sankall, senior special teams analyst Joe Houston. And he also talked about the new director of football performance, Craig Fitzgerald, who yesterday, right before a big Super Bowl news dump, was announced that he's heading up to Boston College. So the Gators are now without a director of football performance. And finally, they did mention something that we've been talking about this show for a couple weeks now. Mike Peterson, Jabbar Jalou, Garab Sale, and Darnell Stapleton are all set to return this season. Bunch of news happening. Gentlemen, your thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I think I wrote. Well, I'll start with. Listen, the players. They didn't add anyone new on signing day, so there wasn't much to ask outside of the transfers, and we kind of already covered all of them. All 4 of those coaches, based on who I've talked to, were extended after the first season last January, a year ago. What is that? 12 months ago, 13 months ago now. We were just not provided, despite sending out contract requests. They were not in the batch that we got. So we assumed that those guys were on expiring contracts. They weren't. And like I said, when Spencer was on, Billy Napier looked at the season, watched everything, and said the defense was the problem. That was clear because they made 2 staff changes. You end up making 3 when Jay Bateman gets a job, basically a promotion to go call plays. But clearly the offense was not viewed as the problem. They're running it back. They got court. They got downs.
If you look at you evaluate yourself and you look at the offensive line and said there's not a problem there, then it must be 2 films you watching, because the same film I'm watching, because I think offensive line was a glaring issue. And to bring back both guys, like, you got to go win some football games, or like it's gonna get the Boo Birds is gonna be out early. Game 1 is gonna be like quite the show to watch, man.
I mean, that Miami game is like life support critical. Like, I don't know. Billy Napier's gotten some rivalry games, and Florida Miami probably doesn't, like, to my dad, who grew up in Miami and is a University of Florida graduate. Like, he might enjoy beating Miami more than Florida State. And you kind of lose a little bit of that because you don't play as much as you used to. But, like, if you think that Florida fans were mad when you lost to Vanderbilt, or when you've lost to Kentucky 2 years in a row, or losing to Arkansas at home, or losing on the road to Tennessee, like, lose at home to Miami week 1, and you'll see, like, how nasty this fan base can get. Like, that is, to me, a must-win game for Billy Napier in this program. Like, I don't know what outside of finishing the season with 12 straight wins or 11 straight wins, I don't know what you can do to make up for losing to Miami at home in the season opener.
Right. I want to see how they bounce back, like, because like you were just saying, they looked at the film, they looked at the year in the review, and they got rid of, made adjustments where they thought there was an issue. So we roll back these same coaches, and I'm not liking the work that came in. The recruiting class is one thing, but I'm not expecting true freshmen to play and contribute this fall. Like, that's crazy expectation. So what we brought in the portal and what we've lost out of the portal, I'm not thinking we're about to upgrade in the trenches. And when you play Miami, while they did lose a couple guys, they're going to be stout. They've recruited well. They've done well in the portal, in the trenches. One thing Mario Cristobal is going to have is a stout offensive line and defensive line. You get mauled game 1, out the back versus a Miami team who I don't think is very good. And you're looking at the rest of our schedule, and we know the gauntlet that's on the way. Yeah, like, this shit could get hell hot, like week 1, right out the gate.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at the schedule, JP, quick shout out to those that have been in the comment section. JP, I wanted to give you a shout out earlier. We need someone to pump Sunshine in here. We used to pump Sunshine on this show a lot. We got criticized for it pretty often. But it's tough. It's tough to do. So right now you have
a lie when we get closer to the game 1.
Yeah,
just check.
But right now in the rear view mirror, as we look at the press conference, you look at the recruiting class, you look at the transfer portal class, you just look at everything, and it's just tough to pump Sunshine right now. So you have Miami, then Samford, then Texas A&M, Mississippi State, then UCF. Theoretically, none of those are your hardest games of the year, right? That you could theoretically go 5-0. I think it's tough for me to think that Florida could go 5-0, but there's a chance, right? Miami has its issues. UCF has its issues. Mississippi State, Texas A&M, you've got new coaches at both, right? Samford should be a victory, although we saw a couple years ago that's not always a surefire victory. Then you get into Tennessee, Kentucky, and then Georgia. And then that starts your slate of then Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State. So you don't have multiple cupcake games. You don't have Vanderbilt on the schedule. You've got to find your victories. They come at the beginning of the year, probably not at the end of the year. And even those aren't necessarily gimme games either. So
listen,
catch wins early, you're catching hands late.
You lose to UCF, I'm going to be riding at the Capitol with them boys, man. Got the horns on, all that, bro. Like
That'll be
that's
October
why-
6th.
that's-
That'll be the new
yeah.
January 6th. It'll be October 6th, the day
Absolutely.
after the UCF game.
That's where I draw the line.
So there's a comment here. It says, some of you can't see the forest through the trees. Trust Billy. I was on the trust Billy train for the better part of 2 years, right? It's tough for me to look at the changes that are being made and being like, you know what? This is the guy who's got it, right? You had multiple special teams issues. And what did you do? You said, oh, by the way, we're going to hire a new special teams guy from the NFL of all places, and we're going to keep him with the other guy. We can't recruit anybody on the offensive line that's worth a damn. You know, there's a couple that might be good. We got the best player in their country, right? From Germany. But to look at that and say, you know what? Our offensive line is good and getting better and recruiting well. I can't look at Florida and say they're doing that. I can't look at wide receivers and say that Florida's recruiting wide receiver well, right? I think that we're doing okay on the offensive side of the ball. I think you're recruiting decently well on the defensive side of the ball. You just fired 2 coaches that just became the defensive line coach at Texas A&M and LSU, so you hope that they work out. You just lost your strength and conditioning coach to Boston College.
It's a lot to deal with, man.
It's a lot to deal with. I mean, I'm looking at the forest. I'm seeing the trees. And on the other side of that forest, I'm seeing a wildfire burning that forest towards me.
The forest is on fire. No, like the things change as the facts change, right? I'm gonna support every coach that comes into the University of Florida, and I'm still supporting Billy. I'm just gonna call it plain as it happens, right? Things we all said we wanted. I wanted offensive coordinator. Do I think it was a terrible offense? No, I don't think it was a terrible offense, but there were stretches of games, whether it's the middle 8, and there was just awkward reverses and calls that wasn't in good flow. It wasn't good chemistry. So I did want a play call of some sort, and I wanted changes at the offensive line. Of course, defense was the obvious eyesore, and I applaud all those changes. But offenses, when you're trying to beat the Georgias of the world, right, you're not finna keep bringing out these same guys to go beat Kirby Smarts and Will Muschamp's defense. Not these guys. And so I wanted to see some ingenuity and some new sauce come into the offensive room just to give them a shot, you know. And I don't think we brought in no enough changes to make any changes on the field. I hope I'm wrong. I'm gonna be there line every week, you know. That's just what I do, but I don't see it.
Yeah,
the strength and conditioning was a huge blow. Like you just can't, like that is so important when you find out we haven't been doing it right, and you make a change in that department to do it right, and then he gets poached.
Yeah, like the headline's bad. And
I'm trying to enjoy my nachos, man. The Super Bowl's on, man.
As I was sorry about that.
Super Bowl's on,
timing.
Yeah,
timing
Nick, bro.
My bad. As I'm like working it, I'm like, I totally get it. Like this is Bill O'Brien's guy. And I've said on this show, like if Urban Meyer comes back and is the head coach of New Mexico State, Mickey Marotti will leave Ohio State and go be the strength and conditioning coach at New Mexico State for Urban Meyer. Those are the relationships that head coaches and strength coaches have. Bill O'Brien and Craig Fitzgerald met when they were both on staff at Maryland. Bill O'Brien takes Craig Fitzgerald with him to Penn State, then takes him to the NFL at Houston. When Bill O'Brien was going to be a head coach, the next time he was going to be a head coach, he was going to take Craig Fitzgerald. The headline sucks. Like, there's no way around it. If you click and read the story, like you look at it and you read, and you're like, okay, I get that. Like that's what happens with head coaches and strength coaches.
Of course,
the headline sucks.
Right. Well, it does.
The timing, like you said, Dan,
the timing is the worst part of this whole thing, right? Because
Florida starts their identity phase this week. They which Billy calls their hardest workout mentally and physically of the offseason. They started this week as your strength coach is lifting suitcases to leave.
I mean, I guess you put Jake Sankel in the role until you find somebody else, right?
Coach who is very familiar with the identity phase, still in the building, making good money. A coach making good money, still in the building.
Oh, yeah, the one that's in charge of like motivation.
Who might have run this phase 4 or 5 times already.
Yeah, so 5 weeks in. So Jake Sankel was with the Washington Commanders for 8 years. I think he was their assistant strength and conditioning coach, if I remember correctly. trying to find it now, but right now he's the assistant strength and conditioning coach at the University of Florida, as well as team nutritionist. We know that Florida made a move with Kelsey Gomes moving on a few months ago. But I don't know what you do. I don't think that Billy's strength and conditioning Rolodex is super large. Florida got a little lucky with obviously Bill Belichick departing the Patriots to be able to get his last strength and conditioning coach. So it's an odd time, right? Because everybody's in this time now.
I'll do it. Fuck it.
I can see it. Yeah.
What's your salary?
Everybody's super lean, eating vegan. Their
No,
blood
no,
pressure.
no.
Their blood pressure's never been more perfect, right?
You're out. You're out.
Clean skin,
Pretty good.
everything. They look great. They look the
Be
part.
getting pushed
but,
around the whole conference for real on my vegan diet.
No. So it can be a track and field intern, but that's it. Definitely not the football nutritionist.
Yeah. So, but every program right now is gearing up for them to start their they're in the middle of their strength and conditioning program as they get ready for spring football. So it's a very unfortunate time for the University of Florida, where nothing ever seems to be easy, right? I think that's like Billy Napier in a nutshell. It's like every time something positive happens, some of it's like their own lack of good PR and being able to carry their momentum. But it seems like every time something happens that's positive or good, or you like start to move forward, you're like, finally got our coaching staff together, something happens. And who this next guy, what are their expectations, or who do they want to bring in? Right. So it's exhausting.
All of this has been a stressful week, man. Mark Thompson is robbing the fans.
Yeah.
I can't.
Billy Napier telling his coaches to unfollow us on Twitter. I mean,
it's been a wild week, man.
We've lost the forest for the trees. So
Oh my God, this is
so Nick. How was it like snitching on Mark Thompson? What's his name? I don't even know his
Mark
name.
Thompson.
putting a bad rep on the family name,
I had a bunch of people reaching for like 2 months. I've had people reaching out to me being like, "Hey, did you know Mark Thompson who's at Florida?" I was like, "No." They're like, "Because I sent him money and I haven't gotten anything." I'm like, "Okay." And when the number got to like 10, I was like, "All right, I'll fire off a tweet like, hey man, maybe don't be careful sending this guy money." It appears that he was scamming. I apologize for calling him emotional distress and further delaying your packages, which were definitely on the way to you.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And I hope you all either get your money back or get what you paid for. But the thing to me is like when you pay for goods and services, there's a reasonable time to expect your goods and or services to be delivered to you.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks, right?
Nope, it's on the seller's time.
Yeah, that was
that's
that was
crazy.
wild. That your package is even further delayed because of Nick's emotional stress.
My bad.
Yeah, you stressing that man out, Nick.
My bad.
Now people don't get their packages, it's all on you. It sounded like he was lining you up for a lawsuit a little bit.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Me and Dan was in the group chat hoping that he sent all the packages out and then sue you for like just stressing them out.
Slander and libel.
Yeah.
Hope he shows up to court as promptly as he sends packages. We can do that.
Jeez Louise. Billy Napier is calling the offense again this year. Russ Callaway has an increased role. Those are quotes. I know this is a audio medium. Has an increased role potentially in that offense, but business as usual, marching forward. Graham Mertz is recovering fine.
Yeah, he was always going to be. He was always going to be healthy.
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about the play calling. No,
No. I'm just going through the notes here of the rest of the press conference here.
Oh my God.
I mean, Billy's calling plays, right? I mean, we can look and say Florida's offense wasn't terrible last year. They scored a lot of points. I know a lot of people look at that, but when you give up 30 something points too, you also have more possessions in a game than you otherwise probably wouldn't either, or you have more time to have more possessions because other teams are just marching down the field.
We'll skip your notes. We'll go to play calling. Billy, clearly they're not going to make a wholesale changes, outside changes. Russ could call plays. I don't know that it does Billy any good other than maybe getting some fans off his back to like stand there last Wednesday and say, listen, Russ is going to call plays. If you get into spring practice and Russ is calling plays and it looks terrible, you're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. You're firing Russ at that point. And now you have to go find a tight ends coach and a play caller. So like you can say, yeah, we're moving some pieces around. And then when you go to team period in spring, hey, Russ, you're going to call team period on Wednesday and Saturday this week. And then we're going to watch it. We're going to go over, see what it looks like. When we go to our first scrimmage, hey, Russ, you're going to call the offense for the ones against the ones. I'm going to call it for the twos against the twos. And you essentially have this spring camp audition where if it looks right and it looks good, you can say, hey, Russ Callaway is going to call plays for us next year. But if you stand there on Wednesday and do it, and then Russ proves to be incapable of doing it, you are up the creek, no paddle, no life vest, and you're in a terrible situation. So, like, I'm not saying Billy Napier is double birding, stone cold Steve Austining Florida fans and saying, listen, I'm doing it, eat it. I'm just saying, I don't know that it's a great move strategically to name a guy and then have it not work out in the spring. And now you're sitting here in April being like, okay, well, we have to fire a tight ends coach because he can't call plays.
I guess that's what happens when you drive the Titanic into an iceberg. The captain has to go down with it and say, hey, I was the one that drove into the iceberg, you know?
It's weird that the captain spun that wheel towards the
I know the lifeboat's at. I'm the captain. Reflecting back on when we first hired Billy, and we had several shows where we talked about the play calling over the years. And we've been under that rule that the moment he gives up the offense, it's probably over. He built all of this. That's been our opinion on this show. Like that, even though I do want a different play caller, just because it doesn't look like it looks dated, bro. You know, like the flow of the game, all of it. I understand the numbers and all of that. Okay, cool, but it's dated. There's no sauce. There's no flavor, and there's no chemistry to how he called plays. But I also had the opinion that whenever he did relinquish play calling, like. Because now he's subjected to whoever he's hiring at OC at that point.
I think they wanted to look like Michigan. Like if you watch Michigan when Michigan's offense was I think that no, you don't see Michigan has better players, but you don't see similarities. Like what do you think the
Michigan
offense
has better development?
What do you think the offense is supposed to look like? You said you when I said Michigan, like that's what Florida's offense looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean,
Michigan nice. Runs way better. Michigan runs way better.
No, I'm about to say because I would take Michigan's. Don't get me wrong, but that's not my ideal offense.
When Florida hired Billy, I even said I was like, I don't think Florida fans are going to like this offense, even if it's successful. I don't think they're going to like it.
He's not even giving us what he gave, and we're not getting the Louisiana offense.
Right. I don't know because you're not playing Tulane.
Well, then what is his offense? I don't know what his offense is. I was going based
striving to be Michigan.
What I saw in Louisiana. No, I don't think he's striving to do that because he's failing at that as well.
I think for me is it's not just about the offensive coordinator title and who's calling the plays and everything else. Well, I think it's important. It's that you have to look at the collective group of offensive coaches, and you have to look in the amount of analysis and everything else that they say that they do in the offseason, and they look at each and every part of the program. You can't look at the offensive side of the ball and say, you know what? No problems there. We're not making any changes. That to me is the biggest problem, right? You have two offensive line coaches. Florida's amongst the worst in college football on the offensive line. And you said, nope, these are the two guys we're going to run it back with. Your wide receiver coach hasn't been able to recruit very well. You've got some good, potentially young talent, but you're also replacing Ricky Pearsall. You didn't necessarily find a replacement for him. And you say, you know what? That's fine. You promoted your offensive analyst to the tight end coach position. And, tight end is fine. And they recruited Amir Jackson, who's pretty good. But other than that, you're like, you know what? That's good enough too. Jabbar Jalouk, that's good enough too. You've looked at every single part of it. You said, you know what?
Jalouk catching strays. I like Jalouk.
No, I'm not giving strays at any one person. I'm looking at the entirety of the offense, not just about whether you need an offensive play caller or not. Is this the group that we want to run it back with in a make or break year? And maybe I'm the dumb one for thinking like, dude, it'd be sick to be able to get another job while also getting $1 million buyout, right? As a position coach, right? But you can't look at that and say, yes, the defense was the problem last year. Like by far, defense sucked last year, right? You made some changes. You hope to make some improvements, but you can't look at the offense side of the ball and say, you know what?
She was
Great. That's a top flight offense.
Yeah, we was doing our thing.
What do you just damn with the chopper in the car? Just how's
He's in his
Jabbar
bag.
Jalou catching strays right now?
He was like,
I had to name every coach, right? Like I'm not going to blame Russ Howard.
Two great
Not gonna-
recruits.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Ryan O'Hara.
Jalou
Great
cost
QB
trade,
development.
man. But Dan was in his 6 foot, 7 foot Wayne bag. He was flowing. Had to get out of the way.
I did hear the lighter flick before Dan started.
Yeah, he went crazy.
Oh.
A million.
Feeling hot today.
Mm.
It's cold and rainy here in Vancouver, but I'm feeling hot.
So
Anything else?
you guys think we win the spring game?
And lose it. That's how the spring game goes.
You know what?
There's a thing now. There is a win in the spring game right now.
Well, you lost the spring game last year because like Lane Kiffin, you scored what, 17 points, 13? Lane Kiffin's dunking on you on Twitter because the spring game had no offense. Yeah, like what do you do if spring games are theater? You can create whatever you want as a narrative to come out of your spring game based on the plays you're calling, the rules you're implementing. You can't blitz. You got to play man. If you go out and you have a great offensive performance, you're like, okay, cool. Great new defensive hires. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. If you have another 17-point spring game, like what's your narrative?
Win, lose, or draw. No, I'm going to draw it for you. Win, lose, or draw, just make Lagway look like the next Tebow.
It is.
You can always sell the future. You know, like win, lose, or draw, you got to make, like Lagway got to go out there and do some Mahomes things, like just flying through there, throwing spirals to the young freshman wide receivers.
I'm excited.
So if it gets ugly in the fall, like, we got Superman next. So you guys just got to be patient because Superman.
I'm really excited to see DJ Lagway. I want to take it in a silly note real quick. What number do you think DJ Lagway gets? Montreal, he wore 2 in high school. Montreal wears 2. Spoke with someone. DJ has not asked Montreal for number 2, but Kanan Daniels has. You put DJ in number 1.
Kanan Daniels asked Montreal Johnson for the number 2.
Man.
Yeah,
that's a bold request.
Nah, I don't think it's going to happen. Listen, buddy, NIL money's funny. Like if I'm Montreal, I'm trying to find out how much DJ's making and be like, hey man, saw you got that DL2 NIL merch all lined up. It'd be a shame to have to like leave it on the shelves for a year. Let's talk numbers.
Let's see. I gotta look. Oh man, they took all the numbers off of the roster here. So
that happens in the spring.
Do they have a number 7 on offense?
That was Trevor Etienne. Believe that number is wide open.
Run it back with a Warfel number. Does he go something different? I mean, Florida's done pretty well at 15.
I like 11.
Well at 7.
I like 11.
11 Spurrier.
And Kyle,
I'm
right?
going number 7. Number 7. What do you got, Nick?
I like 1.
Do you think you get DJ Lagway 1? You don't think maybe Eugene Wilson gets 1?
Yeah, no, I think there was some talk about that. Billy Napier hates like this number talk. Like hates it doesn't think.
Of course he does. It's like
doesn't think it's a big deal. And like I said to somebody, I was like, why did Graham Mertz pick 15? And then Graham told us like, oh, they just gave it to me. And I'm like, you stop giving quarterbacks 15.
DJ Lagway's going to get number 19.
Let the Luchez Purefoys of the world wear 15. Stop giving it to quarterbacks. 19. Shout out Johnny Townsend. Put DJ Lagway in another Legends 15. Number.
Yeah,
AR had to trade with Kamori Gamble because Kamori Gamble went from 88 to 15, and then AR was like, "Hey, I want to do this whole AR-15 branding." traded jerseys, and then AR was like,
This is bad
"You know
coaching.
what if we just stopped?"
Take it off your players. Gamble, give me that damn jersey, man.
You know what I mean?
Why are we negotiating this? Man, give me the damn jersey, man.
He's got the thread cutters already ready to take the
Yeah.
nameplate off the back. Say, what are you doing?
on, man.
Kamori's negotiating. All of a sudden, his
Yeah.
jersey just says Richardson on the back. You're like, wait, what
Yeah,
the heck?
that's it, bro. Like,
We
what are we
got
talking about here? Know your road,
17,
jabroni.
Danny Werfel's Washington
No.
Redskins number was 17. I
That's
don't know if
the,
I see that.
That jersey
Um,
still smells like Skylar Morningweg. Don't put that on DJ.
Got number 1 here.
Hey, Morinway was a gangster, bro.
He
couple
was.
numbers.
He was.
Morinway was a gangster.
Caleb
What was that
Caleb
kid's
says
name?
7. Harrison Sanchez says 7. Eric Buholt says 12. No
Because of
relation to
tackle.
Buholt High School. Number 8. So I'd have to look at the roster. They took all the numbers down.
They've got
from
the.
what-
Why?
You can
Why?
go.
but
and
I
Why
think
they
number
taking
7 works.
You can go and look at.
Yeah, but last
You
year,
can go
but
look
you
at
have
last year's
numbers
roster, but
flipping
you're gonna have
around
guys
and everything
change.
else. So
I think Trey Wilson will end up in 1. 7 would be cool. A cool number. Shout out to Willie Goat,
yeah,
Danny Warfel.
Danny Werfel. Doug Johnson was 7. No,
No idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Doug Johnson. Gators. We're doing a bit of a. No, he was 12.
12.
Jesse
good.
Palmer was what, 9?
Yeah. Peak Shane Matthews was 9.
No, Jesse Palmer was 7. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jesse Palmer was 7. I knew somebody had
Let's
a.
not give him 7 then.
Johnson was 12. Yeah.
Let's not.
So,
Oh shit!
Uh,
Damn, I spilled water, bro.
Oh, man.
I remember
right,
last podcast.
let's see. What else are we talking about? Gators get a big win over Auburn. Just an absolute drudging of Auburn basketball. Auburn has not won at Gainesville since Bill Clinton was president. So continuing that march forward. Some other Gator news. There's one highlight that I do want to give her flowers for. Let's see. Sorry, I only have a last name here. While I pull this up, Olivia Miller. She is a left-handed freshman pitcher for the University of Florida. She is the first true freshman to ever throw a perfect game in a 16-0 win over Bethune-Cookman. So just wanted to give her
In
her
Black
flowers.
History Month, that's crazy.
Dan's forehead is crazy right now. Yeah, it's big.
Oh, y'all gotta leave Dan
I've had-
alone.
It's the way that I'm in a hotel room. Don't have a lot to prop up here. I got a big head. I got a big forehead. I got a receding hairline. Shout out.
Oh my god, bro.
And then number 22 is also an option for DJ Lagway. Don't know if I see a quarterback wearing 22, but
Shout out Doug Flutie.
stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened.
Oh man.
The forehead's nuts. I have no choice. I was born with it. I don't know what to tell you guys. Strength coach list. We don't have a hot board of
Good,
potential
bro.
strength and conditioning coaches. Nick, I'm sure you and Zach will pound the pavement for that.
Nah, bro, I'm good.
Yo, this show has been crazy, man.
This is nuts. All right, let me get a final ad read here. Go visit our friends over at Alumni Hall. They are on Archer Road, right off of I-75 there, just about a half a mile down the road, maybe 3/4 of a mile. It's going to be on your left-hand side of the road. Go visit them online as well at alumnihall.com. Anything that you'd want, Florida Gators apparel, golf accessories, supplies, something for your grandmother, your mom, your daughter, or on the opposite sex as well. So anything that you might want Florida Gators related, go visit alumnihall.com or go visit them right off of Archer Road. Let them know your favorite podcast, Stadium and Gale, sent you to Alumni Hall. Any final thoughts here, gentlemen, on anything?
So
No, man. I'm good, man.
Got baseball season this week.
Baseball, yes, Nick. Baseball Friday.
Welcome in St. John's down south. I'm sure those boys will be happy to get out of the cold weather. I'm not sure where softball plays. You can look it up while I do baseball, Dan.
I sure can, Nick. I'd love to. They play at Jacksonville tomorrow.
The
at
great
6
county
p.m.
of Duval.
Yeah, an opportunity to get in and get out real quick. Maybe they can end that game in 5 innings like they did Bethune-Cookman. Get out before the stench gets stuck in their jersey.
Smells like Maxwell. It'll be a good weekend at Condren Ballpark. I think they're still selling single game tickets. Obviously, still selling season tickets. But we'll talk to Kevin O'Sullivan Tuesday, and I think you'll expect to hear that Cade Fisher, the Red Panda himself, will start Friday. Liam Peterson, I did an interview with him. That's up on Gators Online. He'll start Saturday, and then Jack Taney, looking for a Golden Spikes redemption, was a finalist last year. Lost out to, I believe, Dylan Cruz won it. It was him, Cruz, and Skeens. Should be a really good year for Florida baseball. Again, we tell no lies. We don't overhype Florida baseball. They should be good. A lot of young talent. And I think they're going to hit a lot of home runs, a lot of power on the team.
You said
Catch me at the
lacking, so we'll need them
defense.
home runs.
Yeah. Defense. And hey, maybe no. Tyler Billy's not having a presser today. I think the next time we'll see him will be the day before spring football. So
Sully,
like
man,
3.5 weeks.
all the pressure's on Sully right now, dog.
What pressure is on Sully
To win.
Football
to continue to win national
Oh.
championships, Nick.
Listen, he's not carrying the torch. You got Mouse. Mouse has more rings than fingers. Mouse is carrying the torch.
Facts.
Spring practice starts in a couple of weeks.
March 7th.
March 7th. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so soon.
It's right. Bro, it's a few weeks away and the shenanigans back. You know?
Yeah.
Overanalyzing every clip of spring football, firing Billy.
Yeah, this
over
glass half empty
everything.
podcast is going to be changing tunes in 5 weeks.
Listen, wait until you see a Tank Hawkins slant caught on air, nobody around him. So
I'm ready to lie. Yeah, I'm ready to lie about the Tank. Big Tank fan over here, bro.
I do like that they didn't even like mess around with his roster page. There's no Jure, just straight up Tank.
Great Tank. Yeah. Let's brand this thing properly. You know, big speed coming out of IMG, man.
Nick, I think you have song of the week.
Ooh.
Some dead air here. So we appreciate everybody for watching. While Nick pulls it up, pulls up the sign that he wants. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Please share with your friends and family. We appreciate you guys each and every week listening to this podcast. Nick, where are we at, buddy?
I saw this one on, I think, YouTube. It's a British singer called Sam Tompkins. The song is called Lose It All.
Sam Tompkins.
It's a little slow jam.
I think somebody call me, thought my last name was Tompkins Silk, like early on in this pod.
I mean, but that's also like the Scott Strickland adding the D.
Tompkins and Thompson are
adding the D
very different.
Crazy. What you guys doing Valentine's Day before we get out of here?
I'm on a guy's trip, so I'm skiing. So Brooke and I celebrated on Friday.
Nice.
Took care of her. We had a really nice dinner, and then we went out to a couple of different bars afterwards. But yeah, no, I had to get approval a few months ago for this trip, but it was the only
this
time.
This episode of Stadium Gale sponsored by Blue Chew.
Oh man, no, like Valentine's present. I'm a nice guy. So no, I'm far too young for that anyway, Nick. Come on.
But for real, Blue Chew, we are here and we will take your money.
100%.
Bella Brava in Midtown Tampa, good spot. There's one in St. Pete. We went to a place called Tory Bar, which is a Japanese fusion, kind of small plates type of restaurant. Then we went to a place called Hotel Bar. Then we went to 511, which is like a little nightclub bar.
Going on a bender for your Valentine's Day.
Going on a bender.
Yes. True David Tompkins fashion. Valentine's Day.
Romance.
I mean, we did the joint decisions along the way. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's start at this restaurant.
We drove down to Miami, went to Club
Hotel
Space, went to 11. It was just a casual Valentine's Day, the two of us.
We didn't go like 511 and 11. The nightclub in Miami are very, very different. You know what I mean? There was a DJ in town from Miami, so that was fun.
I'm still figuring it out.
We went to Embers last Friday with another couple.
Because that was a special Valentine's for you.
Just a nice little.
Hey,
Sorry,
babe, you want
Dan,
to go to a new restaurant in Gainesville? Get out of here.
Sorry, we didn't go to Steve Aoki for Valentine's Day.
I didn't listen to Steve Aoki. Well, maybe there's a Steve Aoki song in there. Who knows? And then we spent Saturday celebrating the dog's birthday. Went out to dog bar. Yeah, I mean, we had a great time.
Dog bar? There's a bar that with dogs and vibes.
Yeah, you can bring your dog, and they have a bunch of different like areas for the dogs to play, and you can get beer and
taking the dog on the bender is crazy.
You know, animals take after their owners. You know what I mean?
Oh no!
Oh my god, man! All right, we gotta get out of here.
All right, boys. Same corner, same time. Next week. Appreciate you guys all for listening. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the likes. We will see you guys next week.